Okay, let's jump into Coquitlam. So Coquitlam is brand new. They enacted this in July this year. And this is kind of the table that they've got. Basically, they've given us 4 zones: R1, R2, R3, and R4. And there's a slightly different flavor for everyone. So let's jump into that. R1 is small scale residential. R2, they call it compact scale. R3 is transitional small scale. And then R4 is intensive. Now, just to simplify for everyone, R1 and R2 is the most flexible for SSMUH or multiplex because it allows up to 4 dwelling units. Now, R3 is limited to 2 principal dwelling units plus secondary suite. So if you are about stratifying to as many units as possible, don't look for R3, look for R1 and R2. R4 is great for larger lots, and if you want 3+ units for development with higher density. So that gives you more, but you need a bigger lot. Okay, and then the floor area could be increased for another 430 square feet for parking. So they do have a bit of a parking exclusion for you. Let's go into this. So parking. Now, interestingly, Coquitlam, they allow tandem parking, which is front and back. That's nice because not many other cities allow that. So they allow that, but you do need to have parking. Whereas like Vancouver, for instance, you don't have to have parking. It's all a choice for you. Okay, then there's something called the legacy zone. So these are some of the old zones that they didn't turn into the SSMUH. It's RS1, RS3, and RS4. And actually RT1 and RT3. So if you are in Coquitlam in one of those lots, you could do a multiplex on it, but you have to go through either a rezoning. You have to jump through a few hoops, talk to the city about it. But just know that these zones could be done through some extra steps. Whereas the R1, R2, R3, R4 is now outright as of July. You can do multiplex on here. Okay, let's look at a bit about their permitting process. So, they've actually adopted the Vancouver permitting process, very similar. You do a first pre-screening inquiry, and then there's a pre-application process. You do have to take out a development permit, just like Vancouver. Once that's done, then you can take out a building permit, and then you can build. Okay, so very similar to Vancouver. Now, accessory units. So secondary suites, garden suites, there's a max of 4 total per lot, and that includes accessory units. So when we say your lot can go up to 4 units, you can do 2 principal dwellings with 2 secondary suites. That's 4 units. Okay. R3 is very limited. They can only have 2 principal dwellings max. And then there's no bonus for frequent transit network, unlike Burnaby, where if you're close to a frequent transit line, you have more extra density or extra units. No such thing in Coquitlam. Utilities, PMT, tree retention, that's all in, and you got to allow for that. Submission rezoning, they are, subdivision rezoning, they are both permitted in multiplex if you want to do that. And then development charges. So how they work is they're still all the regular offenders of the fees, TransLink, sewers, DCCs, ACCs, all of that stuff. And this is their chart. So they are like Burnaby, where they do it per unit. So basically, if you're doing single family, even if you're doing single family, there is now DCC. Before, there wasn't. So if you're thinking of doing single family, you're a bit late. You got to pay more now. Basically, 64,000 per unit for single family. Duplex, triplex, fourplex, multiplex, 43,000 per unit. And secondary suites count as a unit. Townhouse, apartments, and commercial, but that's not the scope of this webinar. So what you need to know, let me see here. Yeah, the city will provide you, once they assign a planner or a plan checker, then they'll assign the fees to you. So this is a bit more of an estimate right now. And then they do have all of the Metro van fees and all that stuff also. Okay, let's go through some housing configuration. So graphically, you can understand this a little bit better. In Coquitlam, you are allowed a single detached dwelling with secondary suite, and then you can have 2 garden cottages. Basically, it's a rear building, smaller in scale, but it could be stuck side by side like a duplex. And then you can have a duplex with secondary suites. You can have an up-down duplex with a carriage home at the back. So you're asking me what's different between a carriage home and a garden cottage? Similar, for us to simplify it, it's all a rear building. Carriage home is basically just 1 unit, small scale at the back. Cottage could be like a duplex tied together. Triplex, side by side by side. And then you have a front and back triplex or quadplex, I guess. This is the fourplex, front and back. All right, so now, interestingly, Coquitlam encourages everyone to use the standardized plans from the BC Housing Design Catalog. Those of you who have heard it, those of you who haven't, I'll show you next. But if you do adopt one of those designs, they will actually try to expedite your permitting process, which is nice. One thing to note, though, these designs aren't done. Like they're really just very conceptual, just really designed to help people imagine what it could be. But then I would say it's like maybe 10 or 20% of the whole process of designing a home. You still need to get a professional, either a designer, architect, or or a draftsperson or engineer, or anyone that's capable of preparing a set of plans to finish it off for you. You still need structural. There will be civil and energy requirements. So let's show you what this looks like. This was launched, I think, last year, about a year ago. It's called the Standardized Housing Design Catalog. It's actually quite good, especially for like realtors helping clients understand what could be done on a house, or a homeowner looking at it for themselves. They have different sizes, different layouts, different bedrooms, that kind of stuff. So you can search that up quite easily. It's available online as a free resource. The province put it out. But basically, what you need to know about this is it's free, it's flexible, it's modular. The way that design is quite good, where it's really just modular, you rotate it and do all that stuff. It reduces design time. I would say it reduces the first 10 to 20% of the process. So that's kind of what it is. It's customizable to a point. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. You still need to get a professional to come and help you with it. We can definitely do that. Or if you like none of the plans, we can do a custom design for you.
Yeah, but it's a good starting point with your clients, especially for standard lots. Exactly opposite to what Eric's going to show on the next slide.
Yes.
But yeah, really good starting point for people who want some visual, especially because the product is all new, and it's really hard to drive down the street and point to that's a triplex, that's a quadplex. That's this kind of configuration. So it's definitely a good resource, especially for realtors as trying to help their clients imagine what their project could look like.